Is Miss Vanderbilt here?
Yes,
Okay.
I think that's her on the bottom.
I believe so.
It is. Sorry, Your Honor. I'm having some tech issues.
It's okay.
It's Monday.
All right, court calls cause number 24-06-29121-CV. Department of Family Protective Services versus Sarah Richardson and Corey Mangold in the 454th Judicial District Court of Medina County. Court is broadcasting via Zoom and YouTube from Kendall County. Are there any objections?
No objections.
No.
Ms. Rush, would you please begin the announcements?
Versal Russ and Christina Berciaga for the department ready.
Desiree Flores, FBSS Supervisor.
Matthew Schaefer, family-based caseworker.
Jennifer Harris, attorney for respondent mother, Ms. Richardson. Ms. Richardson, please unmute and announce your name.
Sarah Richardson, mother.
Irene Acosta, attorney ad litem, appointed to represent the respondent, father Corey Mangold. Mr. Mangold, can you announce your name, please?
Corey Mangold, father.
Deborah Fuller, attorney for the children.
Alexandra Vanderbilt, investigation supervisor, Your Honor.
Anybody know who Dusty Moultrie is?
I think she's a therapist.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Miss Moultrie, could you please unmute and announce your name?
Dusty Moultrie, TFF therapist for the family, potentially.
Anyone who's not an attorney or will be giving testimony, please raise your right hand. That includes both parents. Do each of you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Your Honor, I'm going to be calling Miss Vanderbilt. She did not swear herself in.
All right. Miss Vanderbilt, did you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes,
All
Your
right.
Honor.
Yes,
Thank
Your
you.
Honor.
All witnesses are sworn. Any housekeeping issues we need to take up before we begin?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
All right, then Miss Rush, your witness.
Department calls Christina Berciaga.
You may proceed.
Christina, could you, there you go. Would you state your name and how you're currently employed, please?
My name is Christina Berciaga. I'm an investigator with Child Protective Investigations out of Medina County.
As such, were you assigned to the Nicholas Richardson, Colby Richardson, Doc Mangold case?
Yes, ma'am.
Just very shortly, what were the allegations?
The allegations had come in for neglectful supervision.
Was the neglectful supervision based upon allegations of drug use?
Yes.
And was the drug use by the mother, Mr. Mangold, or both?
Yeah, and I'd object to leading the witness.
Sustained.
Okay. So, well, let's back up. Mr. Mangold is not the father of all three of these children, right?
Correct.
Do you know where the father of the Richardson children is?
I believe he's incarcerated.
Okay. So he is not a part of this case. Is that fair?
Correct.
Okay. Were there any allegations of drug use by Mr. Mangold?
No.
Were there any issues of drug use by Ms. Richardson?
Yes.
Did you also review the history of CPS involvement with Mr. Mangold?
Yes.
Did he have any CPS history involvement?
He's only had one prior case with the department.
And was he a perpetrator, an absent parent, a child, what?
I don't recall his specific. He was Miss Richardson's boyfriend at the time in that case.
So he would have been kind of like a collateral?
He would have been a principal because they were residing together. I just can't recall if there was allegations against him in that investigation.
If there had been allegations, would it have been in your affidavit that was attached to the petition?
I believe so.
Again, Your
regard-
Honor, Ms. Rush is leading the witness.
Your Honor, just because it can be answered yes or no doesn't make it leading. I have to give her the answer. She could easily have said no.
I'm not sure that was leading. Overrule.
Okay. Did you, we lost them. Did you, you reviewed Ms. Richardson's CPS history, right?
Yes.
Did you find reasons to believe there?
Yes.
Okay. Generically for what? And I don't mean like negligent supervision, but for what actions?
Concerns regarding drug history, drug use.
Do you believe that Ms. Richardson and Mr. Mangold are currently a couple?
Yes.
Do you have an idea where they're living?
We have a safety plan in place, so I believe they're kind of back and forth in regards to the safety plan, primarily with maternal grandmother, Cynthia Fidel.
What are you asking the court as far as orders? Are you asking participation or TFF what?
Yes, we're asking for the family to participate in the TFF program. We want them to participate in the whole family therapy.
Do you believe, I'm sorry, did somebody?
That was me. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Have you spoken to Mr. Mangold and Ms. Richardson about what you want?
Yes.
Were they in agreement or not?
They were.
Do you believe that their actions have caused risk of, let me get this correct here, risk of abuse or neglect to the children?
Yes.
Okay. Specifically, do you believe Ms. Richardson has done that?
Yes, I do.
Do you believe Mr. Mangold has done that?
No.
Okay. So why are you asking for services from Mr. Mangold?
Because they are a couple. They reside together in the home. He is one of the primary caregivers to the children, along with Miss Richardson. And our concern is with the ongoing drug use by her and his lack of knowledge that she was using at the time that we were involved.
Do you believe that a TFF program as opposed to a participation case would be more in line with protecting these children?
Yes.
Why?
It's of course court involved. There's in-home services, so the department will be involved with the family. TFF will be going out to the home, and of course the family is willing to participate in the services. And I do feel like it would be beneficial for the entire family to receive like the group counseling, the family counseling, and all the services that TFF and Family Base combined can offer them.
Can TFF offer more intensive services than standard FBSS?
Yes.
But can they only do that through TFF? You can't, I mean, can I try that again? Can you get TFF services in a regular FBSS case?
No.
Okay. So it has to be a specifically ordered TFF case?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe that not only, well, let me back up. Have you spoken to the placement regarding protection of these children?
Just to clarify, the safety plan?
The safety plan?
Yes. Yes.
The grandmother, I'll call her the grandmother.
Yes.
Do you believe that she will be protective of the children?
I do.
Have you spoken to Mr. Mangold about what happens if Ms. Richardson does not successfully complete TFF or if she relapses?
Yes, I have.
What was his response?
He would like to step up for all three children in the event that she is unable to be successful in maintaining sobriety.
Did he make any comments regarding what he would do specifically if Ms. Richardson could not maintain sobriety or complete successfully TFF?
He stated that he would take steps to try to get the boys in his care, all three boys in his care.
Is it your understanding that team meeting has been held and the family plan of service has been drawn up if the court continues the TFF or orders the TFF?
There was a family team meeting that was held jointly with the TFF. There was an assessment done by Family Base, and I'm not specific on the family plan of service. I know that I believe that Mr. Schaefer may have completed that with the family.
And in the petition for the court to order the TFF, there are specific things such as psychological counseling, parenting, drug assessment, drug testing, anger management, that sort of thing. Do you believe that all of that is necessary to maintain the safety of the children?
I do.
Are you therefore asking this court to order the required participation in this case and then set it for a compliance hearing on August 13th, 2024 at 2:30 p.m. and give everyone notice in open court?
Yes.
And is all that in the best interest of the children?
Yes, ma'am.
And will all this? Nope, that's all. Pass the witness.
Ms. Harris?
Ma'am, do you believe that any three of the children are in immediate danger to their physical health or safety?
No.
At this time?
No, ma'am.
Would continuation in, I'm sorry, let me back up. Tell me the living situation again, please.
We have a safety plan in place. I've assessed 2 households, Corey Mangold's great grandparents' residence and also Sarah Richardson's parents' residence. So they're able to stay at both residences, but we do have them on the safety plan.
And who is at each of those residences at any time?
At the residence on Miss Richardson's parents' home, it's her mother, Cynthia Fidel, and her husband is Edward Ely. And at the other residence, it's the paternal great-grandparents. And I am so sorry, I cannot recall their full names.
And is Miss Richardson allowed to stay in either home?
Yes.
Is Mr. Mangold allowed to stay in either home?
Yes.
Did any of the children know any of these individuals ahead of time?
Yes. Yes, they did.
And would continuation in either home be contrary to any of the children's welfare?
No.
Is there any reason to believe that the children would not be adequately protected in either home?
No.
And this is a TFF case, so forgive me. I'm not entirely certain of all the different policies and procedures, but is there a safety plan in place?
Yes, ma'am, there is a safety plan.
And what does the safety plan include?
The safety plan is requesting 24/7 supervision of each of the children when they're in contact with Sarah Richardson.
And who would that be by?
So we have several people on the safety plan. We have Mr. Mangold's great-grandparents. We also have Ms. Richardson's parents as well, and then a friend of theirs as well.
And have all of those people been checked by the department for safety and appropriateness?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any reason to believe that the children wouldn't be safe in the presence of any of those individuals?
No.
Did all of the parties involved, including the supervisors, agree to this safety plan?
Yes.
And how long has this safety plan been in place?
I don't recall the date we implemented it.
Approximately.
Probably around May.
Okay. And to your knowledge, has the safety plan been violated at all by anyone?
There was a violation of the safety plan due to not dispute, but Miss Richardson was having a conflict with her mother and had to get out of the home for some time. So in the end, we had to in order for it to be a more successful and sturdy safety plan.
And I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit or froze up there for a minute. You said that there was a conflict in what?
There was a conflict between Miss Richardson and her mother, Cynthia Fidel. They weren't getting along. So Miss Richardson left the residence to kind of give herself a break from her mother. And in that she was with Mr. Mangold. So she wasn't alone with the children. She did have somebody else. It's just we don't have him on the safety plan to supervise.
Okay. And is all of this what you would consider the department's reasonable efforts to prevent the need for the removal of the children?
Yes, ma'am.
And what exactly is your job with the department?
I'm an investigator.
Okay. And as an investigator, are you required to remove children from homes that have had multiple prior cases?
As an investigator, we do our due diligence to try to help the families, provide them with services. Our end goal is not removal. It's child safety.
And do you believe the children are safe at this time?
Yes.
If the court were to find that Ms. Richardson's presence around the children did constitute some kind of ongoing danger to their physical well-being or safety, do you believe that removal of Ms. Richardson from the home would be sufficient protection?
It could be an avenue that the department can look at. Correct.
Is that something that you're asking for at this time?
No.
How old is the baby?
About 4 months, I believe.
And has your plan included making sure that the baby, the infant, the newborn, has sufficient time with both parents to continue bonding with them?
Yeah, so our safety plan is least restrictive. So both parents do have contact with the children. We're not trying to keep the parents from the children. We want them to have that contact. As far as for Ms. Richardson, it just needs to be supervised due to the concerns.
And at this point, has anybody refused to comply with any of your requests?
No.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, give me just a moment, please.
Fine.
And how old are the two other children?
8 years old and 11 years old.
And have you been able to visit with them and speak with them?
Yes, I have.
Are they able to communicate with you clearly?
Yes, they are.
Have either of them expressed a desire or a need to be protected from their mother?
No.
Have either of them expressed or requested to be separated from their mother or their family?
No.
And is the plan that you have developed what you believe to be in the best interest of the children?
Yes, it is.
No further questions, Judge.
Costa.
Thank you, Your Honor. With regard to the TFF model, that includes the safety plan, is that correct?
Yes.
And if that safety plan needs to be renewed during the TFF services, in this case, that will be done as well, correct?
Yes.
And just to be clear, both parents agreed to work services through the TFF case. Isn't that
Yes.
true?
Yes, it's true.
And you testified earlier that you don't believe the children to be in any immediate danger, correct?
Correct.
And the department is not requesting removal of these children at that time, correct?
Correct.
They're safe with protective family members.
Correct.
Has either parent indicated that they wouldn't follow the safety plan moving forward?
No. They're both willing to follow. Their mom is in agreement with following the safety plan, and so is Corey. I've already discussed it in length with them.
And all of this is being done to prevent removal, correct?
Correct.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Ms. Fuller?
Ms. Burciaga, have you been involved with the Richardson family before?
Yes, I have.
And were you involved in 2016?
I would have to check which case.
I just want to go through your affidavit just a little more thoroughly in regards to the history. Is that okay?
Okay.
So in 2016, there was a family-based case, correct?
Can I look at the affidavit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If you want to refresh your memory.
Yes. Okay, 2016. So yes, there was a case. And I'm sorry, what was your question?
That was a family-based case, correct?
In this one, yes, that was a family-based case.
And that involved heroin use by Miss Richardson and Mr. Richardson.
There was drug use by both, yes.
Okay, and that was heroin from your affidavit.
Yes, it was.
And they completed services in February of 2017, based on your affidavit?
Correct.
And within 3 months from that case, there was a removal, correct?
Correct.
And that removal was based on what?
Ongoing drug use.
And that there was a vehicle incident at that time also, correct?
Yes.
And Miss Richardson was driving and there was issues with the children in the car?
Correct.
And two vehicles, that she had totaled two vehicles while under the influence of drugs in 2017.
Yes.
Okay. And during that case, the children were returned and there was a reunification.
Correct.
And within 6 months, there was another removal, was there not?
There was, yes.
Okay. And what was that removal based on?
Also drug use.
And this time it was methamphetamines, correct?
Yes.
And at that time, what happened with Mr. Richardson?
At that time, Mr. Richardson relinquished his rights to the children.
And the children were reunified with Mrs. Richardson.
Correct.
Okay. And then within a year or so, was there another family-based case?
The November 15th of 2022, there was a family-based case. That's the case I was involved in.
Okay. And during that case, were the allegations against Miss Richardson and Mr. Mangold? Based on your affidavit, it says the allegations were Miss Richardson and Mr. Mangold were using methamphetamines and heroin.
Yes.
Your affidavit says that the allegations were ruled out because the children were safe, but the parents tested positive for drugs?
In that investigation, Mom, Sarah.
Your Honor, I'm going to object if she's going to testify to drug test results. I know that if it's in the affidavit, it's in the affidavit, but I don't know that we have drug test results that have been provided to all parties from that investigation.
And Your Honor, the affidavit says that the mother admitted to the worker that she used drugs.
Well, everybody's seen the affidavit. So whatever's in the affidavit, she can testify to. Anything outside of that, is not admissible unless there's results that are admitted through the proper chain of evidence. So you can talk about what's in the affidavit and that's it.
I'm only going through the affidavit, Your Honor.
Right.
And so that family-based case was completed May of 2023.
Yes.
And at the time of that case was completed, Miss Richardson was actually pregnant, correct?
I'm uncertain.
Well, the child was born in February, so.
But I wasn't the worker at that time.
Okay. So then you have 6 months later, you have a referral for drugs again, correct?
Correct.
February of 2024. And did you have
that 6 months objection, Your Honor?
Okay, I didn't hear your objection. Say it again.
Objection, Your Honor. May 2023 to February 2024 is not 6 months.
You want to rephrase, Ms. Fuller?
The time frame doesn't matter, Your Honor. They finished case in May. She had drugs in February, correct?
And yeah, February 11th of 2024, we received an intake.
And the child was born with drugs in the system, and Miss Richardson again had drugs in her system in February.
In February, we received a report that Miss Richardson and Doc, the child, had tested positive for THC.
Okay. And then in April, what happened in April?
We received a re-referral due to concerns that Miss Richardson had been pulled over. Her passenger had heroin on him, and he was arrested.
Okay. But she also, the law enforcement report that you have in your affidavit says that she ran stop signs and she was driving recklessly, correct?
Correct. That's what was reported into the intake.
Which is just a repeat of 2016. A mother driving with, and Nicholas was in the car, correct?
Correct.
So driving again under the influence with a child in the car.
Objection, Your Honor. There's no evidence that and no testimony that the mother was under the influence. That's a misstatement of the facts and evidence.
Thanks.
Did you test Miss Richardson after that?
I did.
And did she test positive for drugs?
She did.
But at that time, she denied that she was using drugs, correct?
Correct.
And then you tested her again in May, correct?
I drug tested her in May.
And she was positive for heroin, meth, opiates, and morphine.
That's the only time I had drug tested her. Correct.
Okay. But she had denied drug use, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So how many times do these children have to be exposed to Miss Richardson and her continued drug use for the department to feel like enough is enough?
Well, in regards to that, yes, Miss Richardson did test positive. She did deny it initially. Throughout the investigation, she has admitted to the drug use. She's willing to work services through the department. Right now, this is not a removal that we're requesting. We're requesting for them to work.
That wasn't my question, Miss Burciaga. How many times this mother has been involved with CPS for close to 9 years? Her oldest son is 11 years old. She's had 2 removals, 3 family-based cases, and now we're going to try a TFF when she's using even more drugs. I just want to know, what does it take for these children to get justice in the system?
Objection, argumentative, and calling for speculation.
The same objection.
Sustained.
And Ms. Burciaga, when you did this investigation, did you feel it was suitable for TFF?
Yes.
And did anybody tell you that you didn't have a choice but to do TFF?
going to object as to any attorney-client privilege if she's discussing any staffing with any attorney
I'm
representing.
not asking for anything from the attorney.
Anything
No.
privileged is privileged, but I'm going to let her ask that question because I haven't heard her asking for privileged information yet.
Did anyone within the department, other than a regional attorney, advise you that this case had to be a TFF case?
During its staffing, we did agree. I did staff it with my supervisor to refer the case to the Texas Family First program.
And in regards to that program, how much do you actually know about the program?
It's a fairly new program. I know that I don't know a lot about it. That's why we have the TFF sit in during the family team meetings. And of course, if the family has questions, we can refer them to the TFF specialist to answer any additional questions they may have.
Okay. So, but after your meeting, were you made aware of what the program can provide?
Yes.
So and if you can't answer this, just tell me, okay? Is their program going to provide drug treatment?
I can't answer that.
Okay. Is their program going to provide drug testing?
I would have to explain it. I know that they work side by side with Family Base. We are going to be requesting drug testing. So they will be getting drug tested.
But the program itself, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm going to not ask you any more about the program. I'll ask somebody else. In regards to the immediate danger of the children, there's no legal paperwork that allows Miss Fidel to keep these children away from Miss Richardson, correct?
Correct.
There's no legal paperwork to keep Mr. Mangold away from his child.
Correct.
And you've already said that Miss Richardson already violated the safety plan once. I mean, when was that?
I believe it was Mother's Day weekend.
Okay. So that was before the hearing, correct?
Correct.
And so she has shown that she is willing to violate the safety plan, correct?
Objection, speculation.
Well, she violated it, correct, Miss Versiaga?
Correct.
And you said that all the services necessary to help Miss Richardson are going to be available, but you're not really fully aware of that, are you?
They're going to be available because TFF is working side by side with Family Base. So they're going to have both services.
Okay. And you said that there is no risk by Mr. Mangold. What do you base that on?
Mr. Mangold there was no allegations against Mr. Mangold. He has not tested positive for the department during this investigation or the last investigation he was involved in. Currently, he's not being supervised. At this time, there's not that risk from him, but we do want to work with him.
But he has specifically been with Miss Richardson since 2022 while she's been engaged in drug use, based on the affidavit.
Yes, they have been together.
And so even prior to his child being born, Miss Richardson's using drugs and he's still with her.
They've been together.
Okay. And throughout the history, has the grandmother been involved in assisting Miss Richardson with her children?
Yes.
Okay. They have been in her home quite a bit.
Yes, they have.
And all the necessary background checks, everything was done to make sure they could stay in her home this time?
Yes.
But during each case that the children were with this grandmother, Miss Richardson still would use drugs afterwards, correct? Based on the history in your affidavit.
Correct.
So I'm not sure if you answered my question about these children. At least the two older ones have been involved in the CPS system for over 8.5 years. What does it take for them to be safe, feel safe?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overrule. She knows what it takes for children to be safe. She can testify to that.
Currently the children
I apologize, Your Honor. I thought Ms. Fuller was asking what she thought the children were thinking.
Oh, okay. Understood.
Currently the children are safe. We do have a safety plan in place. Yes, the children have lived on and off at their grandmother's residence. However, Miss Richardson has not always lived there. And in order for them to be safe, they have that support. The safety plan is aware of the history of the concerns, and they are protective. They do contact us if there's concerns or any issues, and they have in the past as well.
And that's kind of what I was getting to. Ms. Fidel has contacted the department over the years because of her concerns, but here we are for the 5th time. At least. I'll pass the witness.
Any redirect?
Yes, sir. May it please the court. Christina, do you still have your affidavit in front of you?
I just closed it. I'll pull it up right now.
I just want to make sure I clear up something here.
Okay.
While she's looking for that, does anybody have a copy of the plan that should be on file?
Well, yes, sir. I do. It was filed on June 18th at 2:26 p.m.
Could somebody email that to me, please? Has everybody seen it?
Yes, sir. Does everybody else need a copy, or?
Could you send it to me too?
Could you just send it to everybody who's here this morning or this afternoon, excuse me?
All of the attorneys? Yes, sir.
Please.
Okay. Christina, on the second page, which starts the meat of your affidavit, is there any comment regarding the investigation about the police and their opinion of of the mother's sobriety when she was driving when she was stopped in April?
Yes.
And did the police believe she was intoxicated or not intoxicated?
The police did not have concerns that she was intoxicated.
In fact, did they let her leave with the child and not arrested?
Correct.
Has Mr. Mangold tested positive for anything during this case?
No.
How did you find out the mother violated the safety plan around Mother's Day?
Mrs. Fidel contacted me, which is our safety plan.
And is that the person who is supposed to contact you if she believes there's a violation?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that indicate to you that she is being protective or not being protective?
That indicates to us that she is being protective.
Have you seen were you a participant in the safety plan? The family plan of service during the conference on June 17th?
I was present during the family team meeting. I just don't recall everything that was entailed, and I don't remember if I stayed for the entirety of the family team plan.
And have you participated in very many family team meetings or conferences with either FBSS or TFF?
No, not really.
Was this your first one?
I've had one prior.
Okay. Just a second. Your Honor, I just emailed it to everyone. It just took me a minute to find everyone's email addresses. I emailed yours to your court coordinator.
Thank you. She is out of the office this afternoon. So if somebody could just send it to me. Do you have my email address, Ms. Rush?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay.
I'll send it right now, Your Honor.
Thank
I apologize.
you. That's okay. Normally, you did the right thing. Normally, she would bump it to me, but she's out. So
You're a nice boss.
she's at the dentist.
if family plans of service were to require drug assessment and following all recommendations, which may include not just drug testing, but inpatient or outpatient services, would that reinforce your belief that the children can remain safe?
Yes.
I believe your affidavit somewhere also says that the mother has in the past had mental health issues.
Yes.
And you believe TFF can help with those issues as well?
Yes, I do.
And I'm not going to go into specifics, but is it your understanding that TFF is generally not a standalone program? It is not just TFF, it's TFF working in cooperation with FBSS, which is the actual CPS agency, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But you don't do that because you do investigations.
Correct.
Pass the witness.
Any other questions for Ms. Burciaga?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
No,
Ms. Rush, next witness.
Department rests.
Ms. Harris.
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Ms. Acosta.
No witnesses, Judge.
Ms. Fuller.
Like to call Ms. Vanderbilt.
She's been sworn.
Could you please state your full name?
Alexandra Vanderbilt.
And how are you employed?
I am the investigation supervisor for Ms. Burciaga.
Okay. And how long have you been that supervisor?
Since December of 2023.
And in your role as supervisor, do you review all the affidavits?
Yes, I do.
And so you were fully aware of Ms. Richardson's legal history based on Ms. Burciaga's affidavit, correct?
Correct.
And did you have any concerns about her drug use?
Yes, we do have concerns.
Did you have any concerns that she has been involved with the department for 8.5 years?
Yes, that's a worry.
Okay. And what is your goal as the supervisor when you recommend what type of case it needs to be?
I don't make the recommendations alone. We staff and come to an agreement upon that.
Okay. And who do you staff the case with?
I staff it with my workers like Ms. Burciaga and then also my program director.
Okay. And how does TFF get involved in this staffing process?
If we determine that a case meets criteria, we staff it with the state office. And if they agree that it meets criteria, then we staff it with the SSCC provider, which in this case would be Ms. Moultrie and Ms. Tavini for the brief strategic family therapy.
Okay. And why do you personally feel that this case is appropriate for TFF?
Ms. Richardson has shown periods of sobriety. Mr. Mangold has not ever tested positive for the department. He is a parent in this case. We have to do our due diligence in order to prevent removal and do the least restrictive for the children and for the family.
Okay. So when you say Ms. Richardson has periods of sobriety, she's had 5 or 6 cases over 8.5 years, and has been sober maybe 6 months in between each case, a year at the most. Do you think that's good enough for these children?
Well, that's not accurate. A case start date and the first testing positive, and when the case ends, doesn't indicate that she hasn't maintained sobriety through that case either. So she may be positive at the start of a case, maintain sobriety through the case.
My question is, do you think that these children going through this over 8.5 years is good enough for the children? That she can have someone in her life and controlling her and she can test negative, but once CPS and TFF, whoever is out of the case, then she goes right back to using drugs? Do you think that's okay for these children?
Objection, Your Honor. Misstatement of the evidence.
It's not a misstatement, Your Honor. We went through the affidavit.
Yeah, I don't feel as if, I think you could just rephrase a little bit, Ms. Fuller. I'm going to overrule the objection and just tell you to rephrase.
Miss Vanderbilt, in regards to these children, especially the two older children, obviously, do you think TFF will eliminate the safety concerns and provide safety for these two children?
If I did not think that it couldn't mitigate the danger, I would not have gone along with Ms. Burciaga and made the necessary steps to file for TFF. So yes, I do believe working both programs and working therapy could mitigate the dangers.
And what is your understanding of what TFF is going to provide to Ms. Richardson that she hasn't already had over 8.5 years? Anything?
Whole family therapy rather than focusing on therapy for the individual.
And were you aware she's had family therapy with her boys before? I think
no. And what year was that?
In the last removal case?
So that being 6 years ago, I don't believe one of the boys was even old enough to participate in family therapy.
Well, it's your job to look over these affidavits and review the history, correct?
Correct.
So you should have known that both boys were in family therapy with Miss Richardson throughout that case, that removal case.
Objection, arguing facts not in evidence.
Sustained, rephrase.
Miss Vanderbilt, tell me what TFF is going to be able to do for Miss Richardson besides family therapy.
The goal is for therapy to get her back on track with her.
Vanderbilt, besides family therapy, what is going to be done for Miss Richardson to try to keep these children safe besides family therapy?
If you're asking specifically for the TFF portion, that is the portion TFF does. The other components would come from the FBSS case worked in conjunction with the TFF case.
So is it your statement today, the only thing that TFF is going to provide is family therapy? Is that your statement?
That's my understanding of the program, but you're more than welcome to call one of the providers here that can
Your Honor,
give you
I don't need her advice on who to call. I'll pass the witness.
Any cross, Miss Rush?
Yes, sir. Alexandra, I forgot what your name is. It's not McDonald. I'm sorry.
Vanderbilt.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Once again, when we're talking TFF and FBSS, that can possibly include a recommendation for inpatient for Ms. Richardson. Is that correct?
Through the FBSS component, yes.
Which is, I said, it's one big service giving, right?
Correct.
TFF does some things and FBSS does some things. And do you know if Ms. Richardson's ever been inpatient in any of the cases? Just yes or no?
No, I'm not aware.
Okay. Obviously, well, not obviously. Do you believe, though Ms. Fuller keeps talking about Ms. Richardson and TFF, are you hoping that Mr. Mangold gets something from TFF and FBSS in this case?
Absolutely.
What are you looking for him getting?
The department would like for him to get an understanding of her, Miss Richardson, when she is using, so he can better spot that, seeing as she has been positive for drugs within their relationship, and to help him understand the level of protective capacities that would be expected from him if Miss Richardson were not able to maintain sobriety.
When you talk about the level of protective capacity, are you saying that he may have to make a decision between the kids and Miss Richardson?
It could come to that, yes.
Will family counseling, including Mr. Mangold, do you think that will or will not help in him making a decision if he has to?
I believe that will.
Ask the witness.
Ms. Harris?
Ms. Vanderbilt, you may not be able to answer this, and that's okay if you cannot. Do you know if the family therapy involved in TFF cases is typical family therapy provided in normal cases, or is this somehow targeted, researched, expected to be different?
This is an evidence-based therapy that is provided. It is not the same as other forms of therapy that have been families have been referred to with the department in the past.
No further questions, Doug.
Ms. Acosta?
Thank you. And is it your understanding, let me back up. I know there's been a lot of talk about TFF and FBSS. Just to be clear, TFF is going to be worked alongside of the FBSS case, correct?
Correct.
So any recommendations made by family-based for a psychological or a drug and alcohol assessment, those will be worked alongside of the family therapy, correct?
Correct.
So it's not just family therapy that's being recommended for this family. It's other services and family-based as well.
Correct.
And all of this is being recommended to prevent removal from the home, correct?
Correct.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Anything else to this witness, Ms. Fuller?
No, Your Honor.
Any other witnesses?
I'd like to call Ms. Tavini since her name was mentioned.
Okay. Ms. Tavini, could you please state your name for the record?
Michelle Tavini.
Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead, Ms. Fuller.
Hi, Ms. Davini. Yeah, my name's Deborah Fuller, and I represent the children. And I don't think you were on initially. I just wanted to let you know I've represented them since 2017. So, in regards to your program, can you tell me what your role is in the TFF program?
Yes. So I'm the program coordinator over here at DePelchin, and I oversee the brief strategic family therapy clinicians that provide the BSFT portion of the TFF program.
Okay. So in the TFF program, besides the therapy that Ms. Moultrie is going to provide, what else does TFF provide parents?
Yeah. So basically, like what they've already said, that TFF side will provide the in-home therapy to the family and the children. And then we also work really closely with FBSS so that if we need anything that's more than that, we can refer. Or for example, Ms. Moultrie, the clinician that's sitting in today, actually met with the family once and did recommend psychological testing. So she was able to make that recommendation as well to FBSS, and then they were able to get them connected to a tester to get psychological evaluation done for the family.
Okay. So in the last removal case, the two boys had extensive family therapy with their mother. How is the TFF?
Objection, Your Honor. Once again, arguing evidence that's not in.
Facts not in evidence.
Facts not in evidence. Thank you.
How is the TFF?
Hang on, let me rule on this. Let me rule on it. I think the objections are sustainable. So rephrase your question, Ms. Fuller.
Ms. Tavini, do you know what type of therapy CPS typically provides?
I do not.
Okay. So you're not aware if your therapy is different or better or more effective than CPS?
Correct.
Okay. And you said that you provide the family therapy, but in regards to Mr. Mangold, his child is an infant. So that would be just between Mr. Mangold and Ms. Richardson?
I don't understand the question.
The therapy. The main provision from TFF was the family therapy is what I've been told. And so that would be Ms. Richardson and her boys. Would it be Ms. Richardson and Mr. Mangold?
Yes, we would expect one that's part of the family system to be engaged in therapy. The baby could be present, but can't really talk. So they, limited engagement from the baby.
Okay. And you said,
I'm sorry, Fuller, I don't mean to interrupt you. It is worth noting, though, like we are also observing how the family members take care of the baby. So that is also why we request the whole family be present.
Okay. And is my understanding that that is in home, correct?
Correct.
And so in a situation where Miss Richardson has to be supervised 24/7 with her children, does the supervisor have to be in there while you're providing the therapy?
Correct. Supervisor would also have to be present because I'm not qualified and my clinicians are not qualified to be the supervisor.
Okay. And do you think that's beneficial for the older children to have their grandmother present?
Yes, I think that could be.
And again, that your focus is just the family therapy, not just, but you had recommendations also, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Ms. Rush?
Your Honor, may it please the court. I think it may have gotten lost in translation. I just want to make sure Mr. Mango will be expected to participate with the boys in the therapy, right?
Correct.
Okay. It's not just he'll be with Miss Richardson separately and then Miss Richardson and the boys separately. Okay. I would also make an assumption, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that if whoever from TFF is going in the home and doing the visits and sees something that they believe is a danger to the child, they're a mandatory reporter and would notify CPS, right?
Correct. Yes.
And since FBSS is working with TFF, is TFF told if drug tests continue to be positive, if people aren't doing their parenting, things like that?
Yes, we're usually kept in the loop with FBSS and what's happening with drug tests if they're coming out positive, or if the parents are complying with other aspects of the court-ordered services.
Everybody moved. I'm sorry. If
I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. I think that
we lost the parents.
We lost the parents.
I was trying to figure out who we lost. Yeah, we lost the parents. Christina, could you text them you are mad and tell them that we've lost them?
Let's take about a 3-minute break while we wait for them to come back.
A few minutes later.
Ms. Rush, whenever you're ready, you can continue.
May it please the court. Oh, there you are, Ms. Davini. If hypothetically, Ms. Richardson is recommended to go to inpatient and she does go to inpatient, does TFF still continue with Mr. Mangold and the children in the home?
I mean, I guess it could. I'm not really sure. I guess I would defer to the department on that.
If he's included in the TFF order, would TFF continue the services?
We could, yes, we could continue as long as the monitor of whoever the safety plan is also present. Yes.
Pass the witness.
Ms. Harris?
Would your team that is implementing the TFF therapy in the home be expected to report any concerns about dangers to the children?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. Report to who?
Would anybody on your team that's helping provide the TFF in the home, would they be required to report any concerns about dangers to any of the children?
Correct. We would report to the department. We would submit a CPS report if it was something new, but we would definitely follow up with the assigned worker.
No further questions, Judge.
Ms. Acosta?
Thank you. Just to clarify, if If family therapy is going to continue with Mr. Mangold and he doesn't have a safety plan and doesn't require a supervisor, then it can still continue with him and the children and the therapist. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Ms. Fuller?
I have no further questions of Ms. Tavini, Your Honor.
Next witness?
Sarah Richardson.
We are at an hour and 10 minutes, so I'm going to limit it. So let's get as much as we can done in the next 10 or 15 minutes. Ms. Richardson, you've been sworn. Go ahead, Ms. Fuller.
Can you please state your full name?
You got to unmute.
Sarah Camille Richardson.
And you're the mother of 3 young boys, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are their names and ages?
I have Nicholas Jude Richardson, who's 11, Colby Sam Richardson, who's 8, and Doc Adam Mangold, who's 4.5 months.
And you heard my questioning of Ms. Burciaga in regards to your CPS history, did you not?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And you've received the paperwork, the affidavit that also detailed your CPS history.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And you have been able to maintain or at least get sober during your CPS cases, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Maintain and stay sober
during the case.
Yes, ma'am.
But usually, how long does it take before you relapse?
I stayed clean 3 years with the last case.
But typically, how
about
long before you relapse?
The last case was about, I guess, about a year.
Okay. And initially, your first case was with heroin, correct?
Yes, ma'am, in which I was placed on methadone.
Are you on methadone now?
I am not. I've been at I'm on Suboxone.
Okay. And the second case was actually methamphetamines, correct?
Correct.
And so methadone wouldn't have helped with that case, correct? With that drug. That was for the heroin, right?
Correct. Correct.
And in regards to the case in 2022, prior to the birth of Doc, that was a methamphetamine and heroin case?
Methamphetamine, I believe.
The affidavit says methamphetamine and heroin.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't suppose so.
And you were on Suboxone at the time?
No, unfortunately, I had stopped. The wheels came off there for a second, so I had stopped taking my medication.
Okay. So the wheels came off for a second, but really the wheels have come off every couple of years for you, have they not?
Yeah, unfortunately they have, but I live to talk about it.
Okay. And your children have been exposed to your drug use for at least 8.5 years, correct?
They definitely have felt the trauma from it, yes.
And you were in therapy with them at the last removal, correct?
I was while they were in foster care.
Yeah. And do you feel that was helpful for you and your boys?
I do feel it was helpful. I hope to get more from it.
Okay. And your recent test of May 3rd, that was heroin, meth, opiates, and morphine. So you're adding more drugs to your cocktail, Ms. Richardson, correct?
Unfortunately, no, you're mistaken. I mean, I don't want to get technical, but heroin is usually laced with who knows what. So no, I'm not adding anything extra that I'm aware.
Okay. So the affidavit said you tested positive for those 4, but you're saying that they could have just possibly been laced with other drugs, the heroin?
I don't know how they make it, but that's what happened.
Okay. But you've been doing heroin for 8.5 years, so you know that's a possibility, though, correct?
That it could be in there, absolutely.
Okay. So they've offered you intensive family therapy. What do you think is going to be different this time, Miss Richardson?
I'll do whatever they ask me to do, and then some. Fact of the matter is I'm 36 years old, and if you don't age out, you die from it. And I have a baby and two beautiful other boys that deserve better. And I can't beg anybody. I just know that it will be different. And as long as I have I cannot allow for Sarah to run on Sarah's will, plain and simple. So I know that I have to stay involved, stay invested, and help the next addict, because I think that I'm worth that.
And as you know, I was on both of your removals, and so I've heard you say that already, at least twice. Now this is the third time. So tell me why this is different.
Ma'am, don't interrupt the attorneys when they're asking questions. Go ahead, Ms. Foley.
Tell me why this is different.
Objection, Your Honor. She just said why it was different.
Hang on. She was already answering the question when you said objection. And I want to hear Miss Richardson's answer to that question overruled.
I think that it's different because I'm glad to still be alive. And I just want, I didn't have to still be here. And I probably shouldn't be, but I am. And so I still have time. You might look at my history like a life sentence, but for me, I look at it somehow as hope that I'm not dead and that I still have a chance to provide both the older boys and little Doc a chance to never know the pain that my other two feel from being taken away twice. If anybody feels it, they feel it more than any of us. And I'm well aware of that.
Objection, narrative.
Sustained. Ask another question.
What services are you willing to do, Miss Richardson?
To do whatever they ask me to do.
What do you think that you need to do so we don't see you again in 6 months, a year?
I'm involved in services now. I'm seeing a drug counselor. I'm seeing a mental health counselor. I'm doing peer support. These are the things that need to continue on even after the case is closed. And I'm well aware of that now more than ever.
And there was a question previously about inpatient treatment. Have you done inpatient treatment?
I've done a 30-day inpatient. Yes. In 2016, I completed that successfully.
Okay. Would you think that inpatient would be beneficial to you?
If I felt that, I wouldn't turn anything down. I know that I'm clean. I'm not using. I've been clean now, again for another month. I think that I know that I'm well aware of what I could learn in inpatient. I've done it. I've lived it. I don't think it's necessary at the moment. I really don't. But if you guys see otherwise, or if it means keeping the kids here, obviously I would turn it down.
You think 30 days is enough, Miss Richardson? Is that what you think? It's enough because you've been clean for 30 days?
I think that I'm clean, and as long as I keep doing what I'm doing and stay focused, I'll be just fine.
Okay. Will your children be just fine?
They have and are and will remain to be just fine.
Okay. And how beneficial do you feel that family therapy will be if your mother is sitting there with you?
I think that I would love to have occasions where she is there for her and I to work through some stuff with the kids. I think that every time might not be beneficial. I haven't done it yet. I don't know, but we do have other people on the safety plan that could sit in if needed.
Because over the years, you and your mother have had pretty rocky relationship, haven't you?
We have. Being an addict really causes problems in your family.
Do you feel that your boys will open up in therapy?
I do. I think so long as I'm there too, to kind of like coach them through. They're timid of all of this. I think that I've got them on July 3rd, and I don't know if I can still do that or not with family therapy coming, but I hope that they'll be seeing individual counselors as well. I think that they'd open up just fine so long as we just kind of, I don't know.
Very shortly, Your Honor.
Thank you.
May it please the court. Is your peer support NAAA?
Oh, that as well, but the peer support is actually through MHDD in Hondo.
Okay. Are you attending NAAA?
I am.
Have you done 90 meetings in 90 days ever?
No.
Are you aware that most places require recommend 90 meetings in 90 days?
I am aware of that, and I'm open to it.
Okay. You're not currently working, correct?
No, ma'am.
And if I remember correctly, NAAA is now available on line, correct? Is that a yes? There you go. And you understand Mr. Mangold can attend with you?
Yes.
Unless it's a closed meeting?
Correct.
Okay. So if you need to do 90 meetings, 90 days, you'll do it?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is the hard question. Mr. Mangold apparently understands this. Do you understand the department is now required to exercise reasonable efforts before we remove a child?
Yes.
Do you understand if you relapse during this case and you don't complete this case, the department can come before this judge with very clean hands saying, we have offered everything we possibly could do to keep this family together and we want the children returned to care. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And do you understand, based upon your history, there's a good chance that after the first status and possibly the first permanency, the department would change its position from family unification to termination, and you would never see your children again if the department won?
Yes.
Okay. That said, are you asking this court to give you the TFF chance, knowing that if you don't fulfill it, there's a good chance you will at one point permanently lose your children?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
Ms. Harris.
No questions, Judge.
Ms. Acosta.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. I think I'm going to close the evidence. Ms. Fuller, I don't know if you had anything else, but I understand where the department stands. I understand where the parents stand. Is there anything else that you want to present to the court today, Ms. Fuller?
Your Honor, obviously I've been involved with this family for a very, very long time, and it's heartbreaking to see that this continues to happen over and over. Everyone knows that relapse is a part of recovery, but these children have been through 8.5 years of drug addiction, relapse, clean during the case, and then, once the case closes, back to drugs again. When I met with them a week ago, the youngest child, obviously the baby, has no idea what's going on. Colby is still kind of Colby. He's doing okay. But Nicholas, he is an emotional wreck. He has been through way too much. And I don't know if they'll be able to do family therapy with the grandmother sitting there, because I think that's not a good situation, because mom and grandma, all along have had ups and downs. Serious ups and downs during the other cases. And so I don't know if he'll be able to open up, and I'm concerned about that. I understand that Mr. Mangold, this is his first case, and that he, needs an opportunity. But I am very concerned about Ms. Richardson and her lack of accountability, of just making excuses for, well, I know I can do it. But her children deserve better, Your Honor. And I know I said that last time, and I just want to say it again. They deserve better. And I don't know that TFF can provide them what they need.
Thank you.
Ms. Tavini has something to say, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Ms. Tavini.
I just wanted to clarify that with brief strategic family therapy, that the model we use is the family therapy. So I know there was mention of some individual therapy. If that is needed, like on an intense level, then it's not recommended to go forward with the BSFT, because we would recommend the intense therapy, like the intense one-on-one, be addressed, to have BSFT be effective. And I also did want to point out too, with the substance abuse, that we do want all parties to be sober, of course, because if we have one, individual that's under the influence, then we can't have session with everyone and it have to be rescheduled. So just those two things I wanted to make clear that everyone knew.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was not involved in the 2016 case, but I was involved in the case that began in 2018, and I was part of I think there was a referral in 2018, and that case finally went to final disposition in 2021. And so this is not my first time to have Miss Richardson in front of me either. And I do remember these children, and I do remember Nicholas, and I do remember a lot in that case. The court or the law that the court is bound by in this case requires the following. I have to find sufficient evidence to satisfy a person of ordinary prudence and caution that abuse or neglect occurred, or there's a substantial risk of abuse or neglect or continuing danger to the child's physical health or safety caused by an act or failure to act of a parent or managing conservator. Family preservation services are necessary to ensure the child's physical health or safety. Family preservation services are appropriate based on the child's safety risk assessment. And then the court has to order those services be narrowly tailored to the factors that make the children candidates for foster care, and then include a statement on whether the services to be provided to the family are appropriate to address the factors that place the children at risk of removal. There's a lot that Ms. Fuller has brought to the court's attention, and that I remember, that makes me question the third prong, which is that the services that I read in this family plan of service are appropriate in this case. I'm going to take judicial notice of the family plan of service that's on file. It concerns me that we're here again, and that you have so much history that involves drug use. I think that you have the capability, Ms. Richardson, to do exactly what you need to do for a certain period of time. And then at the end of that period of time, whether it be a year, 18 months, for some reason, I don't know what it is, you're relapsing. And I understand what you said about having another chance. And I hope that you truly have learned something this time around. I really do. But the thing about kids that are growing up, while their personality is developing and while they depend on you, every time that you need another chance, you're creating more trauma in their lives. You used the word trauma earlier, and you said you understand it. And so you're throwing them in this whirlpool of trauma. You're getting clean. They get used to one mom, and then you throw them right back in. And I don't know if this time around we're going to address whatever the deep root issue is that causes you to relapse. I hope so. I think that the law is written in a way, and this case was filed, where if I wanted to, I could deny this. I could deny it and say that the services aren't appropriate. But I think that there's a lot to be said for the fact that the legislature has made reasonable efforts a huge part of all of our statutes in the last several years. And I can't ignore that. So I'm going to grant this TFF, but it's not going to look like any TFF I've ever granted before. And there's going to be a zero tolerance policy. And if you mess one thing up, I'm going to dismiss it. I'm not even going to explain why, because I'm telling you why today. I'm going to grant the services that are in the family plan of service as they're written and as they've been testified to here today. The major elements being the drug issues that are in the family plan of service, the testing, the counseling, the family counseling, the psychological or psychosocial. I want the words zero tolerance policy for any failure to comply written into the order. You're going to go to 90 days of NA, 90 classes in 90 days starting tomorrow. And if you miss one class, you're done. I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't care. 90 meetings in 90 days starting tomorrow. The only way you're going to get out of that is if you go to your assessment and they recommend that you go to inpatient. And I don't know what day is that going to be, so don't miss your first day tomorrow. I'm going to set a progress hearing for probably right after the 4th in July. I'm going to get one from my coordinator. She's not here today. I'll get that date out for a progress hearing. And if you've missed one thing, I'm just missing this. And we're not going to go down this road again. If you are not in 100% compliance, when we come back on August the 13th, 2024 at 2:30, I'm going to dismiss this. August 13th, 2024 at 2:30. That's when we're going to come back.
Your Honor,
yes.
I'm actually out of the country that day. Is there any way we can change it? I think I would ask somebody to stand in, but this case, I mean, I've been involved with these two boys for a long time. And
you'll just have to get with Miss Greenlee and find out when we can reschedule it too, because she's not here today. So get in touch with her, send her an email, tell her I said that we can move that date, but I don't know what it's going to be yet. But we can move it 1 week or 1 week before, 1 week after. I read the required findings into the record earlier, and I make those findings as I read them. I'm ordering these services. I'm going to be honest with you, Ms. Richardson. I just don't have the patience to listen to any other, and I'm not even going to call them excuses. You're really good at saying what somebody wants to hear. I've heard you do it before. I heard you do it again today. That's not going to save you in this case. That's not going to keep this from getting dismissed and something more intense happening. I don't really care what you have to say anymore. I care what you have to do. There's a saying that I believe in, and it's what you do speaks so loudly that I can't hear anything that you say. And that's what I'm looking for in this case. And I'm telling you right now, don't be surprised if you miss one thing. Do not be surprised when I dismiss this case, because I will. Ms. Rush, is there anything I failed to address?
I want to make sure I got the wording correct, Your Honor. Did you want it to say the court will accept zero tolerance for any violation?
That's correct.
Thank you. That was my only question. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Good luck to you, parents. We'll get that date on that progress hearing set, and we'll get it distributed. And if nothing further, thank you all for your time and your service. All parties are excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.